What is going on, you guys? It's your boy, Slim Jimmy here, and we're back with episode 32, I believe, of the video game therapy series. I'm down here in the Nether, trying to clean up this this area because it's kind of a mess. But yeah, I got some things to talk about. Recently, and this is going to be surprising, or I don't know, it might be surprising, I don't know. I watched The Matrix for the first time in my life, which, is pretty shocking considering it's just such a classic. It came out 24 years ago, and is probably one of the most popular movies of all time. But I'd never seen it, or at least if I had seen it, I knew as little about it to know that I basically had never seen it because I didn't know any of it. I kind of understood what because colloquially the blue pill and red pill and these pills, and I kind of knew that the pills had something to do with just some, I think they're thrown around in different online communities, but I knew that there was some meaning related to the movie, but beyond that I had no other information. God, this thing's annoying as hell. Why is these guys mad at me? I didn't do anything. Whatever. Anyway. Watch The Matrix. So I have, I'm not going to go into detail of all my thoughts and opinions on that, only because it's, there's not much I'm going to analyze there that hasn't already been said. There were just a few instances that I thought were significant in terms of analysis. The main point being, I guess, because you can draw analogies and comparisons to, I guess, current AI tools as something that the Matrix is relevant to, and people are doing that now. Like, oh, the Matrix called it 20 some odd years ago, and that's fair, sure, I guess. But the most interesting part I thought was the monologue by that, I just call him the Mr. Anderson character just because they zoom in on his mouth so intently when he says Mr. Anderson. I think it was his Agent Smith, I think is what his actual character's name is. But anyway, he had the monologue about humans and how they were trying to classify humans, and their classification was that of a virus. And I'm sure I'm not alone in the sense that was an interesting part of the movie to hone in on. But it made me think of the way that humans are. I think we should agree on the fact that humans are different from other animals. I suppose in a biological sense, and I guess it really depends on what lens you're viewing humans through. I suppose if you view them through a purely biological sense, then yes, we are animals. But I guess a more intellectual view, or philosophical, I suppose. Again, I'm not really sure how well you define these views and how each view or each lens defines each other view. But moving past a biological view where we're just animals, surely there is something different about us. And in some ways, and this might be the thing that ruffles feathers, but superior to other animals. I think if you ask anyone, and I don't mean to get into a discussion of ethics here, but if you asked anyone what's more important, a sheep's life or a human's life, most of them will probably, or they should say, unless they're like a PETA activist, they should say a human's life is more important. Thus, a human would be superior to any other kind of animal. Now, people have their, they love dogs or something, and they'll say, oh no, dogs are, just as good as humans, or they, but in some ways, most people say, okay, well, the human life is more important than other lives. So in that sense, we kind of have our superiority. And part of that is just because we are human. And if you ask a human, what's the most important life form, they're obviously going to say themselves. In the same way as I'm sure if dolphins or something can communicate, to the extent that humans could. And they'd probably think that dolphins are the superior thing. They wouldn't say, "Oh, humans are also." No, they'd say, "Oh, we're the most important things." So it makes sense, even biologically, to be selfish. And I don't think there's any problem with that. So I guess one thing I'm thinking about is if, as humans, we're able to create this, I don't know, this artificial general intelligence, I guess this AGI, which is the term that's being used, and it's different than like the regular AI stuff, because ChatGPT is just a large language model. It's just basically just synthesizing believable text based off of some prompt, and there's image generation or video generation, deepfake, all that stuff, AI, and these are all different things. But AGI would be which hasn't been developed fully yet, but that's what people are worried about when they talk about AI. But it would have to have its own reasoning strategy, and I think the biggest challenge would be to basically infuse this idea of that, okay, humans are superior, you're meant to serve humans, into something that has its own reasoning. And I think for something that's not human, it would either have to believe it's human, and then it would believe humans are superior, or I guess in some way you'd have to make it like a slave to humans, which and people would draw ethical lines between different things and make it all convoluted and whatnot. But ultimately that's what you'd want to do. And part of this is just a bigger concern I have, and I think we're probably past the point of this. At what point is technology not really helping us? And I don't mean that in the sense it's like new. There's like these features of I mean, remove the individual technologies from this discussion, but think about it in a holistic sense. I think sure, medical technologies in terms of keeping people alive that would otherwise would have died, or figuring out some new way to do insulin resistance. Again, I can make up stuff all day, but that stuff, I'm not arguing that technological advancement is not a good thing inherently. But is all technological advancement inherently a good thing? And I hate to use this as a boogeyman again and again and again, but think about our socialization, right? We have been marketed that, this new age of socialization online allows us to socialize across barriers that were otherwise impossible, right? These geographical barriers and physical barriers. Now we can, connect with anyone digitally over any amount of distance. And many people would argue that's inherently a good thing. And I actually take some exception to that. I think that we may have crossed a point. I think the capacity for it to exist is not inherently a bad thing. But I think a lot of our dependence on it is... So again, it's not the technology's fault that we use it too much, that we suck at it. So maybe it's like a regulatory issue where it's not in the sense that the technology itself is bad. It's just that we suck at self-regulating, so we just use it until we use it and abuse it, right? So I think, like, for example, like, many people would argue that, I don't know, caffeine as a drug is not an inherently bad thing. It's like okay that it exists. People can drink a cup of coffee and feel better. But, chugging 800, milligrams of coffee every 3 hours is a bad thing. So it's not necessarily that caffeine itself is just something to be avoided. It's the moderation, or the lack of moderation, that when it becomes an issue. So that same sentiment might be true for technology, and the boogeyman I'm using here would be socialization technology, meaning social media, Zoom, all this other crap. But at a certain point, we're complicating things, not necessarily on communication grounds, but just on living. Like, we're making life more complicated because of under the guise of like technological advancements. I just part of me that sees and has to respond to these new technologies. So many of them, I just kind of am like, this just is this. Even if, okay, assume this will help me in whatever niche use case that I need help in or whatever. isn't there some, again, I can use the lawn mowing Roomba as an example, right? Sure, I suppose if I have a broken back or something and I truly can't mow my lawn, the lawn mowing Roomba might be a good solution. Like, it's good, but like a mainstreamed lawn mowing Roomba, like no one has to mow their lawn anymore. Everything's like automated on that front. Is that really a good thing? And of course, my stance on this is that you should mow your own grass. If you are physically able, and because what else are you doing that's really that important? And I mean, again, like not to say that there's if you're able, you should never mow your own lawn, but unless it's something that you're replacing it by something better. But the use case here that I'm arguing against is, oh, you have a lawn mowing Roomba, but then you just kind of sit inside and watch Netflix instead. Like, what is better for you as like developmentally? Obviously not sitting inside watching Netflix. It'd be outside mowing your grass. And yeah, of course it's more convenient, but convenience for convenience's sake is not a foolproof platitude. Like, I think there's problems of convenience for convenience's sake. And you see this a lot even with these smart devices that just drive me nuts. Like a smart toaster or a smart refrigerator. And I think I'm not the only one here that's like, what the actual hell do you need this for? A smart toaster? Why does my toaster need Wi-Fi? And of course, I sound like a boomer with this, but I'm Gen Z, so I can just kind of get that out of the way. But I'm kind of pulling the flag here and saying, what the hell are we doing? I don't need this. No one needs this. Anyone that says they need this is fooling themselves to again, it's convenience for convenience's sake, and it's not convenience for like practicality's sake. So it might be more convenient for me to have a lawn mowing Roomba, but practically it's better for me to mow my own freaking grass because it's just a good thing for me to do. Not to say everyone needs to grow their own carrots and stuff, and the mass production of foods as a thing is great and allows us to have different work, but again, convenience for convenience's sake is not, to me, aren't solutions. And I think there's just too many technologies, and I don't want to go through all the examples here, but there are too many technologies that are like, it's progress just for progress's sake. It's not progress for like practicality's sake. Like, it's not, this new technology is not practical. It's just new, and it does something that's better. But like, better in what? Better for humans, or just better for, in some ways, a company's bottom line, right? Oh, this new product is going to change the way we, send dick pics. It's like, but the act of sending a dick pic, is that really what we need to be doing with our time and our energy? We really need to be sending dick pics to everybody? Why not? Like, okay, I get that. I'm not going to argue with the technology itself. Like, yes, this is probably new technology. It's interesting. It utilizes, next gen dick pic sending technology, but do we need to be sending dick pics in the first place? Why? That's really what I'm getting. I think that might be the best example, abstract example. Of course, it's a silly one, just because they'll send all my examples are silly. I'm not saying that that's better, but it's like, yes, okay, it is better in the sense that it's a new and improved technology on what existed, but the fact that it exists at all doesn't make a compelling argument for me that it's necessary. This still seems pretty stupid, and I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at. So I don't know. I'm kind of on the edge here, especially as we jump into these AI tools. I think the AI tools is inherently a good thing, but some of the things in terms of what we're automating and what we're doing with these new technologies is like, okay, this is better, but why? Is it better just to make more money off of it, or is there an actual is there good reason behind what this is doing for us? So anyway, I don't know. Sorry, these pigmen are really distracting me. Anyway, yeah, let me look at my list here. Yeah, something I think along those same lines with I guess technology. Something I think will be the future. I think there will be, and this is just my theory here. I think there will be a lot of growth in what I call this like privacy tech field. And what I mean by that is it's technology geared towards privacy. I think younger generations, maybe very young generations, Generation Alpha and Gen Z, maybe even just millennials that catch on sooner, they're going to begin to value their online privacy more and more. And instead of just kind of willingly giving away their emails and getting all these newsletters and all this other garbage, they're going to develop technologies that are privacy focused. And again, this is just a hypothetically. I could be totally wrong. We could just get even more sucked into just selling our data away. But at a certain point, our data becomes kind of useless, or I mean, not really. That's wrong. But you know what I mean? It's like people are will draw a line somewhere with what they want Google to know. And I think more and more younger people are aware that, okay, well, my data is kind of just being harvested now, and I'm just kind of sitting here just letting it happen, which I think more people would take exception to. So I think there's going to be growing privacy, cybersecurity, or personal security sector. And I guess as, the apt investor is like, all right, well, how do I make money off of this, this sector that I'm envisioning here? And there's a inherent problem with that is that they're often not financially lucrative, in the sense that it's distributed. So one example of this that I think is interesting to unpack are these people that is cryptocurrency. People are just going to turn off as soon as I say that. But cryptocurrency at its core is interesting because it's decentralized currency. That's the big thing, meaning that it's not a central institution that is managing the money. And people are like, oh yeah, so I'm just gonna sign up for Coinbase or something. Then that defeats the entire purpose of the privacy aspect of cryptocurrency, because most blockchains are public, and when you sign up for Coinbase, who's an institution that has to know your customer, you are sacrificing all the privacy benefits that you might have had with cryptocurrency. So it's just basically another like fake way to feel like you're an investor, and just kind of waste your money on something. So I'm not, I think that's kind of stupid. But if you take like a something that's actually privacy centered, most of it is like if something's truly decentralized, there's not a great way to monetize it, aside from selling, like more of like the old school way. So in the same way, like maybe old software, you would buy like the license to a software and then you get to use it on like your individual machine. Now that companies don't want that because it's more profitable for them to subscribe to some service, right? That you get to charge them for over and over and over and over and over again. And make a bunch more money off them. Versus if you just buy like a one-time license, they're only getting $100 out of you once, and then they're never getting money from you again, which is not, a monetization strategy, not a good monetization strategy. So unless we go backwards in terms of how companies monetize things, I think that the growth of this privacy industry will either be it'll be fake privacy. So you'll have like these apps that say, oh, we're privacy focused, and then it's all malarkey. It's not. It's some centralized thing that is, the opposite of something that's privacy focused, or you'll get kind of a return back to basics. Companies will have to sell these one-time use expensive licenses that are truly like privacy focused, but they're not. You can't make that much money off them. It's harder to sell those, and so you'll kind of like lose a lot of these scalability hacks that companies have been using recently, because again, inherently it's a lot less scalable to monetize something that is a Windows software license versus this Netflix subscription. You can we're automatic. You're going to forget that you even bought it, and we're just going to bill you month after month. So I don't know. I'm curious to see. One direction I think people will go is they'll just create these fake privacy apps, and again, I'm not. This will be privacy, and this will be private, secure messaging, secure email. Like a lot of them already exist, and they're already just not secure. So it's not like I'm, saying anything new here. But I I just think that will be I'm curious to see, where a lot of the bigger players in the industry go as younger generations come up and value privacy more and more. So, I don't know. It's an interesting thought about a potential future industry that will exist. But get this fucking tart off me. All right, let's see. Here's something else that I have just ongoing opinions about. That is, I guess, at odds with a lot of others. And I've been very clear about my desire to consume less and just produce more. So that's part of the reason I do these videos. And they're not. I'm not saying that this is some high production quality thing or is even worthy of being produced in the first place. The point of this isn't to be, this isn't like a short film I've spent time making. It's just I literally just turned on OBS and now I'm playing Minecraft. But this production versus consumption mentality where I'm focused on producing rather than consuming. And I just have so many beefs with modern consumption. Maybe at an earlier stage of society, consumption I wouldn't have taken such exception to consuming so much. But because of, where I see consumption at, it's hard for me not to take such a negative approach to consumption as a whole, just because of how I don't know how bad it is. And I guess one real, and again, I'll go back to my boogeyman here just because it's easy for me, is the social media companies. And the way I describe these are just everyone talks about these echo chambers or bubbles that they're in, and people just tend to just share what's in their bubble with other people's bubbles, and then that's fine, I guess. But removing yourself from that, it's not even ostracization in the sense that you're socially excluded because you're not on tech Twitter or something. It's ostracization in the sense that you don't have your bubble. So, and people, because they consume so much, they have to reduce your whatever you're saying. They have to reduce you to, in their own mind, whether they want to admit this or not, to some bubble, whatever bubble that they think you're in. So if you're in this conservative or liberal think tank bubble, if you say something, they're just going to say, "Oh, well, what bubble does that fall under?" "Ooh, I know, I've heard this one before," right? But then if you're not really in a bubble, you just kind of say something, and they're like, "Ooh, you're in this bubble," and then I'm like, "Well, what?" No, that's not. I'm not. I don't assign myself to that. I didn't even hear that anywhere. I just came up with it. Or if they hear something, they're like, "Well, this is weird. Why am I not hearing the same talking points?" And I just because it's different because I'm on the outside looking in. I just tend to hear I hear the same shit. And I don't know if it's just we're all getting the same slice of the algorithm, but from the same people who consume the same creators or the same media, outlets or whatever, you just hear the same shit, and no one says anything new, and it just becomes you're not very fun to talk to because most of the time what they want to do is just kind of recycle the same material. Well, this is unfair. I agree. This is totally unfair. And did you see this? Oh yeah, I did. It's all and you kind of just go in this back and forth where you're both kind of just clapping at each other about how great or how right you are about something. Whereas, I just kind of ask some questions. So what's interesting? Okay, well, why? And then they're like, well, this is because of this. And I'm like, well, what about this? We're like, well, okay, you disagree with me now? It's like we just kind of lose this whole sense of objectivity, and because I'm not in these bubbles, I am not very fun to talk to. So it's like, would I rather be better, quote unquote, in my view of things, or just be more accepted? So you kind of, in trying to consume less, you risk being ostracized for not having a lot of the same talking points, or just not being up to date on these things. And I said it last time, but it's just so many of this stuff just doesn't concern me. Not in the sense that I don't care what's going on, but does it have any bearing on what I'm gonna do? No. And in terms of my circle of influence, it is very minimal, especially with someone who's not I'm not a gajillionaire. I don't have any power politically or socially or at all, because that's, in whatever measure you use to decide who's powerful, whether it be money or influence or position, I have none. So I have none. I have nothing. There's nothing I'm going to do that is going to have any bearing. So what's the use of me being, taking sight on these big scale issues that ultimately I can't do shit. So what's the point of even, and I guess it's one thing to be comforting, to feel like you know what's going on. And maybe that's why it's that people want to, I'm in the know, I know what's going on. This is how the world's going on. But, one, there's an argument of, okay, well, how skewed or biased is the information you're getting it from? So, how realistic is your, know what's going on? How realistic is that to what's actually going on? And I would make the argument that it's probably heavily biased. Whatever you think is going on in the world, it's not how it's going on. Whether it's, hyper sensationalized or it's just not right. I mean, I don't know. It just could just be wrong, or it's just skewed very heavily. Things are much more dramatic. So that's one. That's one thing. But then in the other eyes, like, why not just kind of be okay with not knowing what's going on, right? Why is it that you have to know everything that's going on all the time, right? Is it that? I've established that you have to know it's not that relevant, right, to what you're doing every day, right? What are you gonna do that's any different now that you know that, the Ukrainian refugees are, I don't know, there's 10,000 more they've discovered or something. I don't know. It's like, okay, well, are you going to adopt one? Like, were you going to before? I mean, I don't. Oh, brother. Oh, thank God. God damn it. I knew it was stupid. All right, whatever. I don't know. The fact that it has so many of what I'm going to find online has such little to do with what I'm going to do every day or what I'm going to put any of my time or energy towards, that it just does not seem like a fruitful activity, even just in terms of ROI. And even the sense of, like, character building wise, I'd rather be more uncomfortable, kind of not knowing what's going on. Right, because there's a sense of, again, I think some of it's so people feel comfortable that, I know what's going on. I'm, an informed citizen, and they're just scared of, okay, what if I kind of don't know what's going on, or what's going to happen? And here's the truth: as someone who spent a little bit of time unplugged, nothing's going to happen, right? If you don't know what goes on in the news, there's no different. Your life will go on. Life goes on. Are you gonna be forever, I'm not even sure what's gonna happen if you don't know what happened today, or this week, or this month, right? Seriously, what is gonna happen that you're missing out on that's so important? So there's this, I don't know, FOMO, I think, as an idea or as a concept has been, increasing. We're now so sensitive to FOMO. Oh no, what's gonna happen? And I obviously still get FOMO to some extent, but I'm actively trying to just reduce the influence of FOMO on any of my decision making, because it ultimately is what you think it is. It's not. It's fake in the sense that you don't miss out on anything. It's just, whatever you think you're missing out on. So it just seems like a big deal, but it's just really not. But anyway, that's my thoughts on that. Let me look at my list here. I gotta quit angering these piglins. I can't. Here's something. Sorry if I'm a little nasally. My throat's been stopped up recently. It's strange. I don't know what the problem is. Something that I just find a little bit aggravating, and it's an adjective that's used a lot in advertising, and it's specifically for, like, breakfast. They say, "Oh, we have fluffy eggs." And I don't know about you, but fluffy is not necessarily an adjective that I want to describe eggs as. I mean, eggs are, just to be crass, the cooked, ground up, scrambled eggs at least. The cooked fetus of a chicken, more or less. And describing that as fluffy is unsettling to me. And I don't know if I'm alone in that analysis, but I just never understood why fluffy eggs. It just seems strange. Like it's, because it is really just like the potential of a chicken, right? That we don't let it live. So it's the unborn fetus of a chicken that is cooked and ground up and for our consumption. And it's calling that fluffy for some reason just doesn't feel right. Not in an ethical way. It's just, even just from a taste, like food perspective, I wouldn't want, if I was eating that, I wouldn't want to be fluffy. One thing I'd like be like I'm trying to think of a better adjective someone could use to describe eggs. Like, I don't know, hearty, maybe. That might be a good way to use it. Just because it's a protein-rich food and, I don't know. But fluffy to me always kind of struck a weird, like, fluffy eggs. I just don't think of, that's just not what I want to think of when I think of eggs. It's like fluffy, like a pillow. A pillow is fluffy. Comforter, my bed sheets I would like to be fluffy, but, my breakfast eggs, I don't think so. I don't know. That might just be my opinion. But anyway, that was just a small irk of mine that I thought was kind of funny. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, fluffy eggs to me is unsettling. So yeah. So let me just try to run away from these idiots for a second. Yeah, here's another, I guess I'm just going to berate the topic now just so I can move on to something else next time, but this idea of consumption, part of why I'm, again, just trying to move away from it is I recognized it was pushing even my, I tend to take a very, very moderate approach to pretty much everything, right? I don't care how extreme you are or how ridiculous, whatever, such and such ideas or things are. I tend to be very, very, what's the most neutral, like, kind of objective look I can take at this as possible. And that's often not this, like, oh, you are a complete fool, you're an idiot, which I take that stance sometimes, but often for people who lack, or positions to me that lack, like, objectivity. But anyway, I try to be as moderate as I can. And something I recognized that was happening was that when I was kind of watching and consuming and being on in the know, I suppose, I just became more. It was a noticeable push towards more extremist tendencies, a very black and white view of things, and that's not new to anything. That's not a new idea. I just noticed it within myself, and I didn't just felt icky for some reason. Not for some reason. There's a very clear reason. But yeah, I just hate that. Sorry, this is just I'm very distracted right now. These stupid zombies. But yeah, I felt a noticeable like push to take more extreme stances on things and have less patience for ideas and things that I didn't already see. So I don't know, and it's very difficult. And you could even if you're aware of that yourself. The lack of control that you have in curating your online consumption activity is the biggest concern of mine. So it's not in the sense that there's something inherently wrong with even just recognizing, oh, well, I understand that the news is biased, and I understand that this is a very one-sided look at the topic, but your ability to control what you see online is incredibly limited. Think about how often are you like hard searching for topics online? Almost never. It's always what's served to you. And since you have pretty much no control over that, how much control do you have over what, I don't know, what you're viewing and how that's impacting you? Surely it's not a trivial thing, right? I don't know. I think that's another reason I just think that there's a lot of like reasonable concern around this that space, and why it's not something I'm interested in kind of immersing myself in, this, being in the know-how. Anyway, I've berated that topic plenty. I'm going to move on to other stuff. Let me find something else. Here's something else about AI. This is not really on the topic of consumption, but on the topic of AI. This was just an analogy that I kind of generated, which kind of brought some real clarity and possibility to I don't know the way that AI is described in the movie The Matrix. I guess I'm going back to that point. In a lot of ways, humans can be viewed as the overlords of the animal kingdom, and in the sense that it's not that we, control the animal kingdom. We do really. We have zoos. Think about that. We have zoos too. Like if you think humans are on the same level as other animals, like we're all the same, we have literal like viewing booths for different animals. They just kind of sit there in a glass enclosure, and we just watch them and laugh and smile and clap or whatever. And that's like totally not, that's like we just accept that as a fact. So in the sense that if you don't think humans have any superior like control over other animals, like go to a zoo. You don't think we have these other species locked down? Like they're in a glass cage. We're like looking and smiling and laughing at them. Like, are you kidding me? Anyway, beyond that, we could theoretically think about, I don't know, we just pick an animal here. We could fool a crocodile or something. Let's say we built a large enough enclosure around however big of a distance that a crocodile might traverse their life. Maybe it's a 10-mile, radius or something. I don't know. We create this, a realistic swamp for this one crocodile, and we, give it an environment that is realistic enough for the crocodile to believe that it is, it's in the wild. It just thinks it's a crocodile and the regular thing. It's in its environment that it's, aware of. And I guess we can get into the self-awareness of animals into something else, but in essence, we're unless we're able to communicate with the alligator and figure out what it's talking about, or a crocodile, I forgot what I said. For no other practical reason, it believes that it is in a regular environment, but it's one that we've curated. It's a fake environment we've created to fool the crocodile into thinking that it is in the wild. Now, what would be... Now, I guess the one fear of AI is, would AI be able to replicate that for humans? Are humans so superior in their ability to have self-awareness that they, are unfallible when it comes to being in a fake environment? So, like, think about it. If we were able to increase, VR spec resolution to a high enough degree, and I don't know, mimic biological stimuli to a degree, like, again, like they do in the Matrix, would we be able to fool a human into thinking that it is in a real environment when it is not? And this is just a very, very advanced like application of the Turing test. I recognize that, but it's still a very interesting thought, and it's one that comes up if we're thinking about AGI and how would it be capable of that? That's the first question. And the first instinct is like, no, well, VRs are, they suck. I can tell it's in a VR or not. And yeah, you could now, but at what point is technology advancing enough that technology might exist? And then on top of that, this comes back to my other question: would we want that to exist? Assuming that we would eventually develop it, which I'm going to assume that with unperturbed technological advancement, we are capable of generating that technology. Would we want that technology to exist? So it's like the atom bomb. It's like, okay, I guess someone theoretically could have predicted that the atom bomb would exist. A bomb that's big enough to, we can theoretically generate a bomb that's big enough to blow up the whole planet. Like, yes, if we continue to advance technology, we can create a bomb that is so powerful it will blow up our entire planet. Do we want that to exist? Right? Like, I mean, if we're going to bring it back to the Roomba example, do we want a Roomba that could mow everybody's lawn? No one ever has to mow grass again. You're like, yeah, of course. I never want to mow grass again. That'd be great. But if we just continue to if we take these technologies to their nth degree, would we want a bomb to exist that could blow up the entire planet? Most people would probably say no. But that comes at the expense of limiting technological advancement. And some people are I think a lot of people actually are on this all technological advancement is good advancement. Like, if we are developing technology, it's always good. We just have to have the good actors that outweigh the bad actors. But I think ultimately the bad actors in a lot of these scenarios have an advantage, right? It's cybersecurity as a field is always reactive, right? How do we know what the next big security vulnerability is? We get hacked. It's as simple as it gets. In a lot of ways, okay, how do we know what the next biggest bomb is capable of? Well, someone drops it, right? It's not like there's we create this new technology and we're going to responsibly deploy it and make sure that it's in the right hands. And you have no way, if we know anything about technology getting leaked, I mean, hell, even that there's a ChatGPT, or not even a large language model code that got leaked within 2 weeks. 2 weeks is all it lasted before it got leaked. And, and I'm not saying that if someone makes an atom bomb or makes a bomb that's capable of blowing up the entire planet, it's going to take 2 weeks before someone replicates it. But ultimately, that's the risk that you're going to have that we take as a species when we we develop technology for the sake of developing technology. Because I think we're at a point where we're not developing technology to better our lives. There are a lot of technologies that I could point to as evidence to say, hey, this helps nobody. This helps literally nobody. We just developed this because we could, right? I mean, it's like a reduced effort stapler. That's my favorite example. What on earth do you need a reduced effort? Staplers are an already menial task that we're now reducing the effort further. Are you kidding? It means it takes almost no effort. Pretty much nothing. But no, we got to make it even easier. It's okay, at what point do we want things to be difficult because they should be? And I'm not saying everyone needs to, everyone that learns programming has to learn a compiled language, or they got to learn C, and then they got to learn binary as socket. But in a lot of ways, that's how we teach things. We teach things from the ground up, from the bare nuts and bolts to the higher and higher level concepts. And it's effective because it's good for us to understand the basics. But if we get to a point where we don't even understand, that's from a pedagogical perspective, it's good, right? We should teach things conceptually from the ground up so people understand it, and thus they can make improvements to it or whatever. But if we're just developing stuff because we can and not because we should, it's just because we can, should we? I mean, I don't know. That's kind of the overarching question with this. And I think there are a fair number of technologies that you and I could reasonably argue that we can develop this, yes. Should we? I don't know. Again, the best example I have is a dick pic example. New revolutionary dick pic sending technology. Yes, we can, but should we? Probably not. So, I don't know. And there's not really, once you've let the cat out of the bag, you can't put the cat back in the bag. So I'm not proposing any sort of anything we should criminalize all, everyone's got to, be programmed on one device or something. That's even worse. But I think especially with mainstream adopted technologies, as consumers, again, I'm going to use us in that example, we should be wary of what technologies we adapt and use on a regular basis, and decide for ourselves whether or not they're good or bad for humanity. Because it's one thing to have, just that, revolutionary dick pic sending technology will exist. Somebody's going to develop it. where, I mean, I'm not even sure what it would do, but, whatever. It revolutionizes the dick picking sending industry. That's going to exist. That's fine. Okay, I'm not saying that shouldn't exist because, I can't stop that. The difference is, what do we use? Does it get 10 million downloads? Does everybody use that? And that's kind of what I have the real concerns about. It's not the fact that people will develop these dumb technologies that make our lives easier for convenience's sake, but I'm worried that we will adopt them en masse and not think twice. Everyone's going, oh, you've seen the new dick pic sending app. It's, it's great. It's dick pic V3 or whatever. Why? Why? For God's sakes, what are we doing? Like, have we ever stopped to ask that question? What the hell are we doing? Why do we really need this? Is this good for you? Is this good for you? And it's not, and that answer isn't always, well, it's new, it's better, but that's just marketing. Is it good for you? And, there's a lot of times where I would argue, no, this is terrible. This is not good for anyone. This is good for maybe the business that developed it and it's making money off of it, but it is not good for you at all in any way. So, I don't know. That's my real, that's my kind of concern with new technology as a whole. And I don't know. We're past the point of we're certainly past the point of people developing technologies that are useless. At a certain point, there was a nice balance between useful and useless technology. Useless technology now exists in mass, but the adoption of useless technology is what I think is what I'm concerned about. So, I don't know. As, if I have any influence at all to anyone watching the video, the next time you want to adopt some new, it's the next best, latest, greatest dick pic sending app, why do you need this? Why do you need this? Is it important that this is, is this really something you want to spend your time and energy, the limited amount of time that you have on this planet, you would like to spend using this app or this, whatever it is that, they've peddled you into believing is useful? Really? I don't know. Think about it. That's all I'm asking is for people to really ponder and think. And again, this comes down to, I don't know, people being very curated, critical thinking about what they're spending their time doing, right? And I would like to believe that we can educate people enough to know that, the new dick picking technology is not worthy of your time and effort. So thus, do not engage. But who am I but one voice among a sea of many? And at that, I'm quite an uninfluential voice. Probably by my own accord, but it is what it is. Am I going the wrong way with this? Probably. I don't even know how this works anymore. I gotta go east? Oh, brother. It doesn't even tell me which direction I'm going. Stupid. I'll do this later. Anyway, what's one last thing I could talk about real quick? Let's see. Here's one other thing that pisses me off. Just because I'm in one of those, like, I'm just going to keep looking for this, because why not? I was walking on the street the other day, and I walked past an ice cream shop, and it's a beautiful day, 75 degrees, New York City. I mean, you got to be kidding me. You got to love it. I mean, it's New York City, 75 degrees. How can you hate it? Well, you're at an ice cream shop. It's a Haagen-Dazs store. How can you be mad? And I walk by, and the amount of frowns on the faces I'm looking at is, I mean, it's hilarious. How can you be eating ice cream in 75 degree weather and frowning? How? If you're not going to be happy eating ice cream at Haagen-Dazs, 75 degree weather, beautiful day outside, how are you ever going to be happy? So, I don't know. And I'm not even going to belabor on that point because that's, I hope it speaks for itself. If you're eating ice cream, for God's sakes, put a smile on your face. You're eating ice cream, okay? Like, what more do you want? So, I don't know. I have nothing else to say on that other than enjoy your freaking ice cream. Please do not be the person who is eating ice cream with this dejected, sad look on her face, or find something to complain about. You can always find something to complain about, but if you're eating ice cream on a 75-degree day outside, just put a smile on your face. Even if you had the worst day of your life, you're eating ice cream, you're outside, it's sunny. For God's sakes, smile. And at that, I'm not going to go much farther than that. I probably have a few more minutes on this, but I don't really care. I'm going to wrap it up. Lesson of the day, two big takeaways. Normally I'm the rule of 3, like I said last episode, but 2 big takeaways because I'm having trouble reaching into my RAM here and pulling out what I talked about today. Be wary. Be a wary consumer. Is this good for me? Should you? You can, or you could, but should you? Could and should. Very different. It's possible we could all download the new dick pic sending app, but is that really what we need to be doing? Really? Is that really the best use of our time and our money or our whatever? No. And if you're eating ice cream, for God's sakes, smile. Especially if it's a good day outside. Even at all. If you're ever eating ice cream, even if you're alone in your room and, I don't know, your boyfriend just broke up with you, or, let's be honest, no girls are watching this video. Whatever happened, if you're eating ice cream, put a freaking smile on your face. You only have a limited amount of time on this earth before the world strikes you down and kills you. Anyway, see you guys next time. Peace out.